Today, my family is marking the yahrzeit of my grandfather, my father's father, Simon Ba Leibovitz. It's always my tradition to remember each of my four grandparents with a sermon or a teaching on a Shabbat around their yahrzeit, the memorial of their death. And this is the season of my grandparents' yahrzeits, with 3 between this week and the end of Passover. Since I speak about them each year, like studying the Torah itself, this cycle allows me time to reflect, to remember, to appreciate one of my grandparents anew. This week, Ba's yahrzeit occurs during Parsha Ki Tisa, in which Moses descends from Sinai, sees the scene of the golden calf, and he famously smashes the tablets. Vayishlech mi'adav et haluchot vayishber otam tachat ahar. Moses hurled the tablets and shatters them at the foot of the mountain. The relationship between the Jewish people and God had been breached. The Jewish people had lost hope in Moses returning to them. Only weeks after leaving Egypt, our very Jewish existence had fallen apart. The rabbis explained to us that not only did Moses smash the first set of tablets, not only did he receive a second set, but we, the Jewish people, we carried with us both sets of tablets all throughout our desert wandering and beyond. I spent a lot of time this week thinking about my grandparents, thinking about everybody who prevailed in the Shoah, who witnessed the complete breakdown of Jewish civilization, of their families, of everything they knew. And some vowed to not be religious ever again. They smashed the commandments, understandably so. But some felt differently. Like Moses pleading for a second chance and a second set of tablets, my grandparents and others fell in love again, created new families, built new businesses, and mustered optimism for the future in Judaism and in humanity. How did they know to do that? How did they muster the courage to begin anew? How did they know that it was going to be worthwhile? This week, I tried to imagine what were prevailers of the Shoah thinking when they walked their sons up to the bima for a bar mitzvah in America, or when they walked their daughter up to the chuppah, so different than the ones that they had known in Europe. After all they'd seen, after what they've lived through, what did it mean for Ba to stand next to my dad as he became a bar mitzvah? This week, I'm thinking about what it must have been like to have children here in the late 1940s and 1950s, and learn to be American parents so different than the style of parenting they must have experienced in the shtetls in Europe. I know that the parents and grandparents of my grandparents weren't always sitting in the front row of their school assemblies, of their Little League games, and their Taekwondo promotions. To have asked Ba if his grandfather in Chist ever came to his Taekwondo lesson would have been flatly absurd. Yet I'd love to know now if his grandfather was at his bar mitzvah. Did he have an aliyah? What was it like? What was he like, his grandfather? And yet, like the Torah, some questions will always remain unanswered. In his new life after the war, Ba learned many new roles such as father, American citizen, small business owner, commodity trader, proud, involved grandfather. All of these roles must have been drastically different than what he had been familiar with as a child. My parents schlepped my grandparents everywhere, and all of my childhood memories, like I'm entering a movie, I can close my eyes and see the scene. In any of my childhood memories, I can see Ba sitting in the front row with Gammy and Grandma Faye. He's tall, with silver hair slicked back. And long before Warby Parker glasses were cool, he wore simple 1950s black framed glasses. He always projected a slight smile that made me know he believed in me. I never asked him how many years of his life he went without smiling. I wonder how he knew to start smiling again, how he relearned to smile. That was so reassuring after living in a world that was so tragically broken. I wonder how Moses knew to ask for a second set of tablets. How did he know that God was compassionate? How did he know that God was a God of second chances? I think that Moses and they both possessed a certain quality in which they refused to give up hope. They knew that we're capable of so much more than we think. It's a life-changing quality. I think, and I've always thought, that as a community, Adat Shalom is capable of so much more than we think. This year, we're not just going to commemorate Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. We're going to accept it as a responsibility. We're going to actually learn a new role in our community. 2 years ago, we welcomed Cafe Europa, LA's community of survivors, into Adat Shalom with violins of hope for Yom HaShoah. This year, we're going to take care of the survivors in Cafe Europa. Under normal circumstances, shopping for Passover groceries is difficult. The 125 members of the Cafe Europa community had difficulty last year shopping for Passover and will again this year because of the challenges of COVID. So this year, I've assured Cafe Europa that Adat Shalom will provide all 125 survivors in the community with Passover essentials. Each prevailer of the Shoah will receive a box, and each box will include kosher for Passover matzah, grape juice, eggs, macaroons, turkey slices, gefilte fish, and so on. I'd like to express my appreciation to David Kagan, the owner of Western Kosher Grocery Store, who has worked with me to bring down the cost. A donation of $36 will cover the box for one survivor. We're hoping for your contributions of support. I want to thank Evelyn Ginsberg for connecting me with Cafe Europa to help officiate Yom HaShoah services, High Holiday services, and now allowing me to learn a new role of responsibility. And I want to thank our entire board for supporting the idea, and 2 board members in particular, Stephanie Ginsberg and Mitch Gossett, for chairing the volunteer effort. We will need volunteers to help pack the boxes at Adat Shalom, and we'll also need volunteers to pick up the boxes and drive them to the members of Cafe Europa all around Los Angeles the week before Passover. The scheduling details are still in process. We're hoping for your willingness to volunteer to pack and to deliver in a safe and responsible manner. You'll be receiving links in our emails in which you can contribute or offer to volunteer or volunteer for packing or delivery. We're helping Holocaust survivors prepare for Passover because it's what we should be doing as Jews. It's because I believe that as a community, we can be more optimistic, more helpful, more generous. And that starts with our own family within the Jewish community. To think that last year, as we scrambled to figure out Passover for ourselves, that the most vulnerable members of our community suffered is a disappointment. And now it's an opportunity for a mitzvah for us this year. At Passover, it's not enough for us to read about the Jewish people who experienced the redemption in antiquity. We must also care for the Jewish people who suffered and were redeemed in modernity. We're told that when Moses came down the mountain with the second set of tablets, his face radiated light. He beamed with pride. He maintained robust optimism, and it worked. I have a hunch that his beaming resembled Ba's encouraging smile. With that slight smile, I heard Ba say, "Go ahead. You can do it." I still hear Ba saying that often. Now I'd like for you to hear it. I'm saying to all of us, we can do this. We should do this. Ba's life continues to teach me many lessons. We can do this. Don't be afraid of new roles and responsibilities. We have much to offer others, more than we even know. I hope you take the advice and click the link or call the office this week to get involved in the effort. May the memory of Simon Ba Leibovitz, Shimon Zelig ben Avraham Vilea, continue to be a blessing for our family, for this community, for all of Klal Yisrael, for Jews everywhere. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.